Hey, what's going on everyone? Eric here with Proactive Intuition, and in this video I wanted to answer a question that someone asked me, which is when do I know to go full-time as a reseller? And I thought this was a really good question because I've actually had a little bit of experience with this in that I've been able to quit my job about 2 years ago and make reselling my full-time source of income. So I do have some good tips for you guys when it comes to reselling items full-time. I'm actually getting ready to do one of my favorite things, one of my favorite luxuries of being a full-time reseller, which is anytime I feel like taking a break and I need to just unwind a little bit, I can actually go for a walk. So that's what I'm gonna go do. Gonna go clear my head a little bit and go for a quick walk. So when should you go full-time with reselling? A couple of tips I have for you guys. The very first tip is make sure you have at least 6 months of living expenses set aside, meaning that if you for some reason did not make any money for 6 months straight, that you could actually afford to still pay all of your bills. So you have a 6-month buffer in case something happens. The next thing I recommend for you guys is you need to make more with your reseller business than you do at your job. That is really, really important because if you make, say, $3,000 a month at your job, but you make $3,000 a month in your reseller business, that's not the same because your reseller business, it needs to grow. You need to evolve it into something bigger than just being a side hustle if you want to do it full time. Meaning you cannot pay yourself a salary of $3,000 a month because you need to reinvest back into more inventory. You need to reinvest into growing your business, getting new equipment and things like that. So take that into account whenever you go to start your reseller business. You also need to take into account things like, hey, am I going to still have insurance? Maybe your job you have now gives you benefits. Maybe you get dental, vision, health insurance, things like that. You need to take that into account. Those are some of my biggest expenses now because I have to pay for some, third-party company that doesn't go through my work anymore. So keep that in mind before you quit your job, all those other expenses that you need to take into account. All right, guys, tip number 3 is to pay yourself the least amount that you can. It's very important, like I said before, to make sure you're reinvesting back into the business. You can't grow your business if you're constantly bleeding all of your finances out of your business. I pay myself $1,500 a month out of my business, and I actually, because with reselling, it's an official business, I can pay a large section of my bills out of my business account. So the amount that I have to pay myself doesn't really have to be that much. So for instance, whenever you have a home-based reseller business, you can write off a portion of your internet bill, your cell phone bill, your mortgage, your space it takes up in your house. There's lots of things you can write off so that you don't have to worry about paying everything out of your personal accounts. Make sure you get a good CPA. If you're gonna go full-time, you gotta have a good CPA who can actually help you out with leveraging everything you need to know when it comes to taxes and reselling. Guys, so the next tip I have for you is to get on the same page with your spouse if you have one. You need to have your communication like crystal clear on what you're doing because this is a really big decision if you're actually gonna make that leap to reselling full-time. It's been an awesome journey for me, but it doesn't come without its challenges. You definitely need to make sure that you're on the same page with your spouse every step of the way of this transition because if you go from, bringing home $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, and then you actually go to this to where you have to pay yourself less so you can grow the business, you may want to communicate that with your spouse. So make sure you're on the same page. And my last tip for you is to make sure you have your systems and processes down to a T. This means that you know exactly your process and how long it takes you to do your listing, your packaging, your shipping. You have everything organized in your business. You have an inventory system laid out and you have a reliable source of steady inventory that you can get on a consistent basis so you know roughly how much you are going to be making whenever you go full-time reselling. So I hope those tips helped you guys out.